Welcome into a Friday edition of the Computer America program here on the eve of Halloween, and certainly have a terrific show for you. Nathan Evans, managing editor of Popzara magazine, is here with us for both hours, and it should be a fun show. It's Friday. I can't think of a better guest to have on with us than Nathan for Friday's show. And of course, it is our social media winner of the week. We'll be announcing that as well for that Logitech MX2 Anywhere wireless mouse. And we'll be starting momentarily. So sit back, relax, enjoy 2 hours of Computer America coming at you in about a minute.
What he said.
Yeah.
1 minute until showtime.
And what she said, too.
You know your email still says tonight's show?
My email? Oh, I need to fix that. I sent you an older version. I need to fix that. You talking about the email?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll fix that.
Way to go, Craig.
Well, I didn't think he was going to get picky on me. But
I'm a managing editor. You won't believe how picky I get.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I get that way.
That's why the Titanic went down. No one was paying attention.
30 seconds.
Oh, you got me on 2 cups of coffee, so I'm going to be on today.
All right.
Oops.
Ten seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the Blue Wasp.
Well, I guess that means it's like we're on the eve of Halloween. So this doesn't mean we don't want to scare you, but I like this song. What can I tell you?
Yeah, I'm sure the Beach Boys performed admirably when they played it.
It wasn't the Beach Boys.
It sounds like it though.
Yeah.
You're that. It's a rerun of Tom and Jerry. It's one or the other.
There you go. Anyway, welcome into a pre-Halloween edition of the Computer America program, and Ben and I are here to entertain you, amuse you, and here on the Halloween Eve. If you have a comment or question, give us a call at 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. If you don't want to call us, but you still have a comment for us in our lively discussion for our guests, every page at ComputerAmerica.com, in the upper right-hand corner, it says Submit a Question. So just click that link. It'll take you to our question submission page where you type a question in, click the Submit button, and Ben and I will see it instantly, and we can act upon it on your behalf. The other thing is that you can also watch the Computer America show. Yes, we are a radio talk show. I understand that, but we also now offer live video streaming. And just go to any page at ComputerAmerica.com and click on the Show Lounge selection from the menu, and the live video will begin immediately, and you'll be able to watch anything that's going on. You can see me, you can see Ben. Sometimes you can see our guest. You'll see his caricature anyway for today. And also, Ben has the technology to display websites, movies, videos, so you can actually watch them as well as listen to the show. So it's just another way to interact with us. You can do everything at the internet home of our show, which is ComputerAmerica.com. Anything else you want to mention before I bring on our guest, Ben?
Yeah, go check us out on all of our different archives, like like Greg usually says. And yeah, if you are overseas, I looked into it, and Deezer is apparently pretty big over in Europe. So our European friends, go check out Deezer.
So you're
Uh,
not we're heard on Deezer too.
yes, I believe so. So well, Deezer's coming soon. So whenever they get that up and going, because they absorb Stitcher, and they're absorbing all of their content and everything, so we'll be on there as well. So you can sign up for that, and that will be launching soon. But when that does, we'll be on there, and just another outlet to hear us from. But other than that, nope,
Well,
I think we're good to go.
well, are you saying that when a Deezer absorbs Stitcher, that you can still go to Stitcher.com, or is it just going to become
Yeah,
Deezer?
Stitcher's going to stick around. Don't worry about that. It's a very established brand. They wouldn't just buy it and dismantle it.
Right.
Deezer will be its own service that will incorporate Stitcher.
All right. Well, let's talk about our guest. Popzara is defined as being a bazaar of popular culture spanning the world of arts and entertainment. And through Popzara, you'll see views on video gaming, movies, technology, cultural movements, and icons. Yeah, even politics. And there you can find opinion pieces, debates, reflections, reviews, analysis, news tidbits, and so much more. So back with us today is the managing editor of Popzara, Nathan Evans. Nate, welcome back into Computer America. How are you?
What's going on, guys? Happy pre-Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. We should have the show interspersed with scary sounds, throughout the program.
That won't get annoying.
Can I interject real quick? You call yourself a radio show and then web show. You know what's funny is that radio can mean so many things, because even Apple, for some reason, calls their Apple Music radio for some reason, and it's not radio, but it is radio.
It is. It's becoming the distinction and the nomenclature that's used is becoming more and more murky. It's becoming grayer.
Before it was anything associated with radio towers, radio units, and stuff like that, but now it's just a blatant word for, hey, you make noise over whatever medium, then you're radio.
I still listen to albums and records, on my iPod. So
there it is. So I think it's a sign of the times. Things are changing now, and also with streaming. There's so much going on. Really.
I love it. I think it's the best thing I've ever seen. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Well, anyway, Nathan is here to kind of mix things up. As I said, it's Friday. We're going to have our social media winner of the week. We're going to be calling out their name soon. Exactly. And we're going to have we're going to be giving away that Logitech MX2 Anywhere wireless mouse valued at $80. That's going to be the prize. And we'll be calling out that name probably sometime in the second hour. We traditionally always do it in the second hour, but you never know. We'll just kind of mix it up. And we're going to be talking about movies and software and hardware and anything else that we can come up with. Of course, as I said, you can interject anything you like with a phone call, 347-884-8881. If you're listening to us live at our new time slot, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So I guess we should just start, unless there's anything else you want. We can just start right off the top. Actually, what I want to do is I want to talk about just a little bit. It's the second topic, and then we'll go back to the first one. The Xbox One. What was it? Just something came out. We did a news story that we've been waiting for the Windows 10 and the Xbox One to finally come together, and they were saying now. Microsoft said in a blog post somewhere that we're going to see that happen in November.
There's a lot of ambiguity that you just put in there.
Well, I'm just playing the role of Microsoft. They're so ambiguous about all of this. They're saying now November, Windows 10 and the merging of Windows 10 and the Xbox One is going to happen. Are you you're not holding your breath, or what?
I'm not holding my breath because I don't care. I think the thing is the Xbox One is a computer with a customized interface for television, and Windows 10 is a great, it's sort of this anamorphic polyamorous operating system that's it's like the guy you go to at a party and he says, "Oh, I love you, Nathan. You're my best friend." And then he goes to Jake and he says, "Hey, Jake, I hate that Nathan. He's such a prick." It's like it's trying to be everything to everybody, and that just fails. And so I would, Windows 10 was designed to be, like I said, it was supposed to transform like Optimus Prime to fit your computer, to fit your phone, to fit this. And I think that's a great idea. It is. But I don't think you're going to see Windows 10 on Xbox One. I think you're going to see elements that combine and play nice with Windows 10 on Xbox One. And I think that's the way it should be. And I think if we're talking about media streaming, if we're talking about being able to play one or the other, that's great too. And this is especially true for all you PC people out there, and Ben, you know what I'm going to say, who have been very disappointed that PC ports of console games have been atrocious lately.
Mm-hmm.
Like worse than they've ever been. There's no reason why Batman needs 12 gigs to run on a Windows machine. That's ridiculous.
That is the poster child of poor ports because
Yes.
I kid you not, we just had a story 2 days ago saying that it's finally back on PC after like months.
It's back, but it's not back though. It's still crappy. And the fact is, if you're using your super duper DeLorean PC to play a port of a PC game that doesn't work, and it's so bad that you need to stream a $350 game console to your super PC, just get a life. Just play the Xbox One. It's $350. It's half the cost of a video card. Yeah, you're not going to get the greatest resolution, you're not going to get the greatest frame rates, but you're going to get really good resolution and really good frame rates. And you know what? The game plays. That's a feature.
Right.
It plays. And so if they can now, the other thing to answer Craig's question, one last little rant. From what I understand, the Xbox One and PC, when they play well together, you're supposed to be able to play your Xbox One games through your PC. Stupid. Who wants to do that? Play your PC games through your Xbox One. That's the way it's going. That's what Valve is doing with their streaming stick for SteamOS. The SteamOS boxes are let's be charitable here. I don't think they're one of your sponsors, so I can say this. They're garbage. They're crap. Nobody wants them. But people do want to play games on their PC. And so let them play the games on their PC through the Xbox One. It makes sense. It makes sense. Ben, I bet you'd want to do it. I bet you have a nice gaming PC. I bet sometimes you just would like to play a PC game through your Xbox One. But you probably don't want to play Halo through your PC on your Xbox One.
You know, I think I really would because it's it's just me, but the console really belongs in one place and the PC in another, and having some kind of functionality where you can play one or the other and believe me, I would really like the Xbox to play PC games because then you have two different places to play all of your games. That's a bunch of value added.
Yes.
But I'm not going to begrudge the fact that I can play Xbox games on my PC. I actually like that.
Yeah, well, you say that, but how big is your HD screen? I assume you have a flat screen.
You're talking for the console?
Yes.
Oh,
in your living room.
That 50 inch, something like that.
It's better than mine, But would you rather play Halo 4 on a 50 inch, or would you rather play Halo 4 on a 19 inch? For long term.
19 inch.
Yeah, you're crazy. He's crazy. Craig, get the straight jacket.
Yeah.
No. But the fact is that there's always somebody. Hey, there's always somebody.
He always does the counterintuitive. Ben is notorious for that.
Well, PC gamers by their nature counterintuitive, but they are. I'm sorry, because the PC gamer is someone who has decided to make things as difficult for themselves as possible. Because at the end of the rainbow is a pot of gold. At the end of the day, Grand Theft Auto 5 plays and looks better on your PC. At the end of the day, Batman will play and look better on your PC. Assassin's Creed. The problem is getting there is a struggle. Getting there, you have to be Lewis and Clark and hack your way through crap and drivers and incompatible DXX files and all this crap. Where as a PC, as a game console, you just plop it in. It couldn't be simpler. But there are concessions. I think, Ben, you'd admit. So at the end of the day, you can hunt and gather your own food in the wild and dissect, grill, and make your own burger out of a skunk or whatever. Or you can drive through to McDonald's and get a double quarter pounder. Different strokes for different folks, and literally. But if you're going to go to McDonald's, there's probably a lot of strokes there. So, sorry, they're not one of your sponsors, right? Okay. Okay.
Well, they can be.
Yeah.
So that's my feelings. I'll believe it when I see it, but it can't just be a feature. That's the thing. That's the thing the tech industry does not understand, and they really don't get it, is that you cannot just put a feature on something, and that's enough. You have to have support for it. Otherwise, you're just going to have go to Best Buy. If anybody's listening, go to Best Buy and go look at any TV or any computer. It's just a list of features, and sometimes they have to make up names. If you went to a new computer and it said it had a flux capacitor, you'd be like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then you go to the Best Buy salesman, and first of all, they never know what they're talking about. But they say, hey, excuse me, sir, what's a flux capacitor? And you'd be like, oh, it's what makes time travel possible. You'd be like, this is cool. It's like, oh, so that's what time machine means on a Mac. But the fact is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it can cure cancer. If nothing uses it, it's worthless. So we'll see what Microsoft does. To their credit, Craig, to answer your question, they have been very good at this lately. The new Microsoft, 2015 Microsoft, has been very proactive and very good at supporting their consoles and supporting their operating systems in a way that frankly bedazzles me. So we'll see what they do with this.
Okay. I think you even play Bedazzle on
I don't know. There's not a lot of apps on Windows Phone. So sorry, burn.
So, sticking with the Xbox One, the topic, you mentioned that Halo 5 is now launching on the Xbox One.
Oh, I'll let Ben take this one because he's all jittery about this.
Well, yeah, it just launched, and I'll be honest with you, it was one of the most subtle launches I could imagine. Like, I didn't see anything on social media. I'm sure there were commercials playing, but who watches TV anymore these days?
TV, what's that?
Yeah, I know. It was just such a subtle campaign that I really didn't even hear about it. And when I started seeing like little clips here and there, I'm like, oh look, the closed beta or the open beta is open. And then I go and look, and the Halo 5 had actually dropped the day before.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it came out just this Tuesday, I want to say, and not a lot of hoopla compared to other Halo launches.
Yes, you remember back in the day when Halo would launch, they would take over television, they would take over media, they would have live streaming, they would have all sorts of stuff. They'd have people lining outside.
I think it was either Halo Reach or Halo 3 where they had Bill Gates, Master Chief roll up in warthogs in New York City and take over Times Square, all as a huge, hoopla at midnight, all over a new Halo release. This time they're like, put a couple commercials out, it'll be okay.
Well, let's be charitable here. Let's be a journalist and be a little objective. A couple years ago, after the launch of Halo Reach, I wrote a column on Popzara that got me death threats. I just laugh them off. An online death threat is sort of like a little kid calling you a boogerhead. They never translate to anything. And I want to go back to that later with another one of our topics. But the idea was that Halo was losing popularity. And the idea was that Microsoft would have to spend more and more money each time to make Halo conscious in the public sphere. So Microsoft would spend more money for a game that sold less incrementally every time. And this is not what you want to have happen to your marquee title. Now, a little bit of nerd history. For anybody who doesn't know, Halo was originally created by Bungie Software, and Bungie used to be a prolific Mac developer. Up to the point, I think it was 1999, you can look it up, that the series was actually introduced by Steve Jobs at an Apple event.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's very famous. Yeah, it's very famous. And he says that we're going to change the specter of Mac gaming. And I remember watching that because I was in the industry at the time in California. And they showed Warcraft, they showed Quake 3 for the Mac. Like, wow, Mac's going to be a gaming machine. Nope. Microsoft at the time, this is really cool. If anybody doesn't know this history, please go look it up. This is one of the coolest pieces of video game history ever made. Microsoft wanted to get into the game industry. They were buying technology from everywhere. They bought Web TV. They bought the rights to Barney the dinosaur. They weren't hedging their bets. So the way to get into the industry was to buy software. And one of the first acquisitions they did, they bought Bungie. Here's the thing, though. They also partnered with Sega. Sega at the time created a system called the Dreamcast. It was unveiled by Bill Gates. Bill Gates unveiled the thing. He showed the controller. And on every copy of the Dreamcast was a little sticker that said powered by Windows CE. It ran a very stripped down version of you guessed it, Craig, Windows, which was for mobile at the time. Didn't really translate to anything. But the fact is that Microsoft had a tacit relationship with Sega, and we didn't know why until about 2 years later. So the Dreamcast came and it went. It was the end of Sega in the hardware market, at least the home hardware market. But what had happened is Microsoft had used Sega as an entry point into the game industry. In fact, the demise of Sega, Peter Moore, Sega's director at the time, immediately stepped across the line and became Microsoft's media director. And all the franchises that were planned for the Dreamcast, you guessed it, became Xbox titles. Halo became their marquee selling point.
Right.
And the original Xbox launched with a online multiplayer system that would eventually change the way we played games online. It was a first-generation product in every single way, especially that giant controller. I forget what it's called, the big bad boy or whatever. Horrible controller. But they changed it, and everything got better. So years later, Microsoft also acquired Rare, which was a Nintendo second-party license. By then, it didn't really matter. But now Microsoft was in the game industry. And the GameCube, which was from Nintendo, both systems didn't sell very well. Both didn't. I think at the end of the day, I think the GameCube edged it. But the fact is Microsoft is a bigger company than Nintendo, and they could pour money into this. And their big marquee title, Ben, was always Halo. It was It was the game that nobody else had. Now, forget the fact that the Xbox itself wasn't anywhere as popular as the PlayStations. Up till 2006, Microsoft had a year head start on Sony. They released a system that, by all accounts, wasn't baked properly. They took it out of the oven too early. So they had catastrophic losses, billion-dollar losses, because the system was defective with Red Ring of Death. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But Halo was their marquee title. The problem was it wasn't anymore. There was a game changer, and eventually the marquee title for Xbox became Call of Duty. And so what happened to Microsoft is that they started experiencing losses. Now, this doesn't happen on their rival console, which would be Nintendo. And this is the part I want to get to, is that while Microsoft was pouring tens of millions of dollars into Halo, including, I might add, an aborted Halo movie with Peter Jackson, which eventually became transmogrified into a movie called District 9. Again, look it up.
Yeah.
The fact is, in fact, Steven Spielberg, when the Xbox One was announced, this is how bad this has been. Steven Spielberg was going to produce a Halo movie, a Halo TV series, exclusively for Xbox One, because that was the big.
Whatever happened to that?
I'll tell you, the new hotness at the time was everybody was going to have their own streaming service. Remember that? The Xbox One wasn't even sold as a game console. It was sold as a media box. Again, something I want to get into with one of our stories today. It didn't work. It didn't happen. So this new Microsoft, run by Nutella, I want to tell you something. This guy is a genius. He is saving Microsoft in ways that people don't understand right now. You mark my words. This guy is the guy that took over from the imbecilic Ballmer, who frankly is a cartoon character, and he's saving the company. He's doing things that make sense. In fact, he's doing things that Steve Jobs would do. I wish Apple would take note of in fact, I think they are. I think there's an argument that Apple's copying Microsoft. But here's the thing. He killed it. He killed the series, and eventually it became a web series, which I think you can buy on DVD or download now.
Forward Unto Dawn, right?
Yeah, and I think the star of that show, my editor, Chris Wolfman Mitchell, he tells me that the star of that Halo show is going to be the star of the new Netflix show coming out, Luke Cage, but you can also see him in January Jones or whatever, January Jones, sorry, X-Men. But going back to it, though, yeah, so Microsoft is spending all this money, and we've talked about this on the show before, and I know your ex-colleague Grayson and I talk about this every month on our NPD reports, which you can listen to at popzara.com, wink, wink. Microsoft failed with Halo. They failed. They dropped the ball. They lost Bungie, who is now making the competing smash Destiny, which of course just came out. And where does that leave Halo? Well, frankly, it leaves Halo in second place in Microsoft's stable. The biggest software title that Microsoft has isn't Halo, not even close. It's Minecraft, which saw its own new game this month with a Telltale Games version called Story Mode.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact is, why did we see a soft launch for Halo? Well, let me ask you a question, Ben. One thing you didn't bring up. It came out in October, not November. Usually Halo comes out in November.
Right.
The reason being is that if this game came out, first of all, the Xbox One console has not sold where it should. Now, it's sold better than the original Xbox, and it's selling faster than the Xbox 360, but it doesn't have enough consoles to make a game a smash by itself, because the expectations are too high. The cost of creating this Halo is too high. So what happens is Microsoft is very good at this. They're measuring expectations by doing what's called a muted launch, which means, yeah, Halo's out there. Yeah, if you want to play it, go figure. It's just another game. You know who else does this? Nintendo. You don't see any commercials for Mario for the most part. You don't see people marching out in the streets. The difference is, of course, is that when Nintendo releases a level editor called Super Mario Maker, it sells a lot. The critics love it. Nintendo is a master of this. They are a master. Like I was telling you before the show, don't waste any money on hotels at trade shows. Nintendo doesn't waste any money on advertising. Whereas Microsoft, if they spent a lot of money on Halo, they wouldn't get the return. It's not going to be a 10 million seller because there aren't 10 million Xboxes out there that people can buy it. So the cost of production means that Halo, like you said, will have a muted launch.
I see where you're coming from because, you know, as much as I love the Xbox, like I've had the original 360, like that's the console that I grew up on, and I like it. But I gotta say, even with all the good news Xbox has been getting lately, even with PlayStation supposedly falling behind, like PlayStation's just doing it better. Like, and I think Microsoft sees that, and that's why Destiny has taken, you know, it's kind of taken Halo's spot. It's definitely, you know, done by Bungie, so it's, you know, it has really, really good people on it, but they're putting so much more effort into it. And after playing Destiny on the Xbox One, I kind of regret getting an Xbox One because PlayStation is getting better releases, better content, more content than the Xbox One, than the Xbox, even with Bungie's own game.
That's really debatable, though. I mean, I'm on the fence of that myself. Is that I mean, we have access to the Xbox One and PS4, sure, and the Wii U, but the fact of the matter is, I would say, despite the fact that the PlayStation 4 is definitely selling better than the Xbox, I would make an argument that Microsoft actually has the better software. I think when you look at the releases coming out for these two consoles in the next month, Sony doesn't have anything. All they have is multi-platform games, all of which you can play on the Xbox One. All their big titles have been delayed. You could say the same for Nintendo, I suppose, if you discount Mario and Yoshi's Woolly World. But the fact is that Sony has struggled, Ben, to create a must-have platform for exclusive titles. Everything they've had this year has been a disaster. They've had the Order 1886, disaster. They've had the recent Bloodborne, which was mediocre at best. You know, they've had all these marquee titles, and none of them have done anything. And to be charitable, neither is Microsoft's. But you can say that Microsoft stuff has been more in line with what a gamer expects. They had Sunset Overdrive. They have a bunch of indie titles. Again, they have Halo, whereas Sony doesn't have really much. And I guess we're talking semantics and apples and oranges. So I'm not going to sit here and endorse one console over the other. But I say when I look at the slate of original titles coming out, at the end of the day, what I really notice is that for the most part, these consoles are pretty much the same, ultimately, because they're third-party machines. And again, I want to go back to the Wii U for 1 second before we move on. When we covered the NPDs, when we covered the sales thing, the Wii U is the only console that's selling better than it did last year. The only one. And it's only doing that because of Nintendo games. Because of Mario, because of Yoshi, because of this. Now, it's still not selling as well as the other two, don't get me wrong, and frankly, I hate to say it, folks, the Wii U is done. But it is coasting on fumes, but those are very lovely, playable fumes. And my argument would be that the Wii U has the best exclusives of this generation. In fact, I will say it again. The Wii U has by far, the best exclusives of this generation. Not only that, they sell. Every damn one of them sells. Splatoon sold. It's going to sell better than those Sony games on a system that doesn't have any user base because it's a better game. But it's not enough. So will Halo be enough to change the game? We shall see. I want to see Microsoft's experiment. I want to see how the fan base reacts. Again, Nintendo don't need commercials. We're going to see if Halo doesn't need commercials. From what I understand, from what I hear from you guys, and I've talked to some of the editors, and I know, Craig, I think Mr. Ben is going to join the Popzara crew on a special thing this weekend, which is going to be fun. But at the end of the day, do you like the game? Cool. Do you not like it? Cool. Let's hear what you guys have to say before we make any judgments. So at the end of the day, we might be editors, Ben, we might be journalists, but at the end of the day, we're still fans. So you can like the game or not like the game, and I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Did you download Halo 5? Did you get it, Ben?
I actually downloaded it, and you know, even at 30 megabits a second, which isn't wasn't amazingly fast, but it's okay.
It's okay for Switzerland.
It still took me about 6, maybe 7 hours to like I actually went to bed before it finished.
Yeah.
So
can I say one last thing about this?
Sure.
One last thing about Halo. Let's not forget the botched Halo Legacy Collection from last year. the fact is that Microsoft released, in fact, they to the point where they had just to give the game away for free now. Microsoft took what should have been a marquee release last year by rehashing Halo, and they completely foobarred it. And to the point where it was embarrassing. And Ben, you know what I'm talking about. From 70 gigabit downloads to 30 gigabit day one launches to unplayable multiplayer. This is not how you treat your marquee game. This is not. And I think it was so catastrophic that it left a bad taste in people's mouth. And it may have almost killed the franchise in some ways.
Like, I know I didn't buy it. I got it for free. I got it with my Xbox, but yeah, I played through the campaign, Halo 1, 2, and 3 campaign, and I did some other stuff, but it really didn't hook me. The online component of it was just kind of
broken. It was broken.
Yeah.
It didn't work. And again, I want to reiterate, it was a 70 gig game.
Right.
Jesus. I'm sorry, I'm not religious, but Jesus, it's just that's ridiculous. For 70 gigs, you could put all the original Halo games on that and still have room for the Uncharted series. That's too much.
Well, they did put every Halo game on that, but that was kind of a thing because like when you bought the Xbox, you got the download code and you actually download it directly to your hard drive. So I'm kind of running into this now with my first purchase with just the Xbox and the first game I downloaded. 20% of my hard drive space is gone.
You have the 500 gig, or do you have the terabit?
500.
You can go to Walmart, of all places, or Newegg, and go get yourself not an SSD, but a 7200 external 3 terabyte USB 3 hard drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your Xbox One will have 3 terabytes. You'll just have an external drive, but unlike Sony, you can't swap the drive out. By the way,
as an idea. Listen, we got to take a break, and then we'll continue on with this. You're listening to the Computer America Show. Managing editor of Popzara magazine is Nathan Evans is here with us. We're talking about Halo right now. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
The witches are sexy. Oh, hi, Marty Winston with News Tips Bulletin for Computer America. This time, we got in a new Auric Venture canister vacuum. Its disposable bags and dual filters hold the dirt and prevent the air billows that make many vacuums dust redistributors. It's both light, 20.5 pounds, thanks in part to a very lightweight hose, and compact. Even its wand collapses, so it's very maneuverable and reaches easily under furniture. Its 23-foot retractable power cord means fewer pauses for socket swaps. And the design is very effective at getting everything up, especially crumbs and small particulates on hard floors, in just one pass. Cleaning in one pass can potentially reduce energy usage even more than dropping the power draw. It's also relatively quiet. Our other vacuums are easily twice as loud. Bottom line, the Auric Venture vacuum uses power and finesse to quickly and quietly clean your crummiest mess. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It's 33 minutes past the hour, and we're here with Nathan Evans from Popzara. And, don't want to belabor this to death, and we're definitely going to move on after this, but I did want to make one or two more ideas out. You can go buy it. So far I'm having fun. We'll go into more depth when I actually have a chance to talk with the Popzara crew this weekend. And as Nathan said, keep an eye out for that.
Well, what's the details about it? Where can the people listen to that, or how do they do that then?
Oh, I have no idea.
Well, it's a good thing that I'm here.
Yeah.
No, it's we have the podcast, and we call them round tables, and we just get a bunch of people together, and they yak and jab about what they like. And I think hopefully it'll be out. I think you guys are set to talk on Sunday. Right. So no promises, because this is technology after all. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping on Monday. I mean, hell, Google couldn't even get the World Series right. So so if they can't do that, then you guys will have a chance to be better. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah. But the only other couple points were some of the features that are found in Halo 5. I'm not sure if the Xbox side has streaming capability yet. It might have that baked into the Xbox One. I definitely want to go try that out and check that out, create some good content. But the other part of it is, this is the first Halo game, and a couple people are wary, but it seems like in general a lot of people are very, very happy with it, surprisingly. This is the first Halo game that will have microtransactions built in.
Ooh.
So if you want to buy, they call them REQ packs, REQ packs, and they have little consumables. They have special looking armor, special looking moves that come into the game. You can buy these packs for $2 a piece, $3 a piece, $4 a piece, like whatever you want to buy. And hey, you can get a couple. You can speed up your leveling process, get some unique items, and yeah, that's one thing we really want to keep an eye on, is a game that's traditionally, you spend $60 on it, and not only do you get the game in full in every feature, but you also get the online for free forever. Assuming you have Xbox membership. But with microtransactions, that's something new.
Well, I just want to reiterate for all you youngsters out there, if you're paying for a subscription, it ain't free. So if you're paying for Xbox Live, Ben, it's not free online. Same with Sony. It's like, hey, it's funny. If I just go to McDonald's every day and just do the fry later, they give me a check for free. It's no. And Ben, one last thing to tell you about. I remember when the Xbox 360 first came out, and I forget the game. It was some game that had to do with dragons and swords. It might have been Elder Scrolls, might have been Oblivion, I don't know. But EA and everything, what they would do is that they would give you the whole disc full of everything, and they would charge you to unlock stuff, and they'd call it DLC, even though it wasn't downloaded. And we all griped and complained, but we still did it. I want to buy that goat, dollar. But the fact is, this is the result of what happens when we tolerate being used like fools. The fact is, if you're paying for stuff, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to let Homer Simpson say it. If anybody who saw the movie, The Simpsons movie, think back to it. The very opening credits, they're in a movie theater, and all the Simpsons characters are coming up to watch The Simpsons, and Homer points at the screen and he says, hey, he's like, they're charging us for stuff they used to give us for free. And then he just looks at the audience and is like, he's like, you're all a bunch of suckers. Like, you, and he looks at the screen, he's like, especially you. And that's how the movie started. So, yeah, nickel and dime, I wouldn't be surprised if the next Halo is free to play. You have to pay for the levels, or pay for characters, or be like Smash Brothers, where Nintendo charges $7 for Ryu from Street Fighter.
Well, that's the thing is, the knee-jerk reaction, and believe me, I had it too, was this is a horrible trend. This is the beginning of the end for the fully featured $6 game. Own it, play it, you're done. This is the beginning of the end. But a lot of people like it, and I'll be honest, I haven't really had a chance to play multiplayer, because this only matters in multiplayer. I've only played the campaign, but people are liking it, and that's the weird thing.
You never seen the movie Animal House, have you?
Nope.
Craig,
Oh,
you've seen Animal House, right?
of course, it's a classic.
Yes, exactly. This is these youngsters today. No respect. No. No, do you remember the scene with Kevin Bacon? Yes, Kevin Bacon was in the movie. Remember where he's getting initiated by getting hazed and he
Yeah.
gets spanked?
Yeah.
He's like, "Thank you, sir. Can I have another?"
Yeah.
That is the game industry. Thank you, sir. Nickel and dime us to death. And by the way, people like a lot of things, Ben. People like getting spanked. They like fetish films. Some people like eating snails and call it escargot. The fact is that microtransactions, I can name to you at least one video game series, maybe two, that was completely killed by microtransactions, and that was Dead Space. Speaking of Halloween, Dead Space 3 was microtransactions to death. It was like a swarm of mosquitoes just sucked all the blood out of that series. And another one I could point to is Plants vs. Zombies 2. The original game was money. You had to pay, oh gasp, you had to pay money to play it. The second one, hey everybody, have it for free. They did it for free, killed the franchise. And some might say Angry Birds did the same thing. Angry Birds 2 was a great game. Nobody liked it because of all the microtransactions. You know, I'm sorry, but not every game needs to be Candy Crush. You know, not every game needs this component where they make you feel like a transactional friend. You know what we call transactional friends? Prostitutes. I don't like feeling like a prostitute. I want to buy my game and I want it to be mine. But like you said, Ben, some people, I don't know if they like it. I just think they have no self-esteem and they just buy it. Like, oh darn, like I need that horse, I need that sword, you know, because I have no skill, so I have to buy my weapons and kill it. No, you know what? Screw you. You know, if you can't play the game, go play another game. If you want to watch the game, go watch Twitch, go watch something else. But stop mucking around and making my game experience worse, because it doesn't have any lasting effect. You're gonna fail. You're gonna kill these franchises. Microsoft, 343 Studios, stop it. Stop it. Just make a game that people can buy, and they'll buy it. To quote Steve Jobs again, if they like it, they'll buy it. You know, and they'll buy it, but they don't want to keep buying it. You know,
Right.
It's just again. We'll see how it goes.
I've seen successful models of this, but I'm not sure how well it's going to be in Halo. Again, I have to try it, and we're going to talk about it on Sunday.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's the last point I'm going to make about Halo until our next Gamer Tuesday.
I wonder where I stand on this, huh? So, but no, I'm sorry. I'm old, man. But you know what though? Devil's advocate. Before I shut up, I grew up in the arcades. I grew up where I had to pump quarters into that machine to play, and those games cheated you, by the way. Those games cheated. They always cheated because they just manipulated you. So you know what? Who am I to talk about microtransactions to keep playing a game? Devil's advocate.
Keep dumping those quarters in.
I did. Yep.
I always hated the arcade games that they had a forced kill mechanism so that you had to put another quarter. Like some people could play a game through and through on one turn, and that was great. But there were other games that force you to die and force you to put in another quarter.
You know,
Awful.
I just saw the movie Pixels, and
Oh, you poor thing.
You know what? It is bad, but there's one thing they do get right. They get the app, and Adam Sandler is very good at this. They got the atmosphere of the arcade right. The 80s atmosphere when things were better. I'm sorry, you millennials. Your generation sucks. The old generation was so much better. They talk about diversity in games. They talk about women playing games. Back in the 80s, it all happened. We had the utopia. It was called arcades. Girls played games like guys. In fact, I think if you've ever seen the movie The King of Kong, the world champion Cubert player is an 80-year-old woman, for God's sake. The fact is that everything was fine because we didn't have people telling us this is for boys, this is for girls, this is this. You had games about fishing, you had games about throwing sticks, delivering newspapers. It was a lot better before we realized how racist and sexist we were, because we weren't, and we're not. But they make us feel we are, so we buy games, and I think it's terrible. Shame on you idiots. But anyway, the movie Pixels is terrible, but it's got some good performances by Peter Dinklage, of course, and Adam Sandler is actually somewhat funny. I recommend renting it at Redbox, but don't buy it.
Okay. There you go.
The highest of honors.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you this, guys. Paying $15 for a movie and paying $2 for a movie changes your perspective. And so $2 for Pixels is worth it. $15, no. Go get us some McDonald's.
Yeah.
No.
So tell us about the death threats you were getting.
Oh yes, death threats. See, let me tell you something. If you ever read a story, especially in rags like CNN or Fox, you're going to see all the time, oh, death threats derail, death threats. Bull crap. It's all fake. Everybody gets death threats on Twitter. I mean, I get death threats all the time. I get death threats all the time. I get my editors getting emails saying, "We're going to kill you and punch you in the nose," blah blah blah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, but unless it says Alu Akbar, I'm not worried, because at the end of the day, there are a few things in life that are less scary and less frightening than a nerd on Twitter. I'm sorry, grow up. You know, they just had this announcement. I put this on the show notes, where the South by Southwest show just canceled one of their panels on Gamergate. They said it was supposed to be pro, said it was supposed to be anti, because they got death threats. Again, bull crap. Those aren't legitimate death threats. What are they going to do? Order a pizza? Kill you by pepperoni? It's not going to work. It's fake. It's fake. Because here's what happens. Some nerd named like Farty Fart Pants at Twitter is going to say, "I hate you, die." Oh no, it's a legitimate death threat. No, it's not. No, you think, what kind of moron is going to announce they're going to kill you on Twitter from halfway across the country?
Yeah.
What, are they going to annoy you to death?
Right.
You know? But no, I'm going to retweet you to death. No, this is bullcrap. No, what happens is that this is a mechanism that's used by bad journalists to solicit clickbait articles. Again, CNN has been very good about this, or should I say very atrocious about it. You can go on Twitter for any subject, any time of the day, for anything. This is cool. And you can find someone who is racist or sexist or misogynist or anti-whatever. Whatever you need an anti, there's an anti on Twitter. Because people, that's people. There's 7 billion of us. Everybody's got an opinion about. Someone out there has a negative opinion about rainbows. You'll find an anti-rainbow person, and he wants to kill rainbows. You know. So what CNN does, and they do this almost daily. And I'm sorry to single out CNN, but frankly, CNN is atrocious as a news mechanism. They are just horrible, racist, fear-mongering morons. But they will take Twitter. They will find someone on Twitter. For example, remember the Star Wars trailer came out a week ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately after that, oh, racists want to take it down. It was completely fake story, because racist stories generate clickbait. Popzara is racist. We hate green dinosaurs. Ooh, got to click on that. We're anti-green. You know, sorry for Captain Kirk. But the fact that, yeah, I'm sorry, but he's banged all the green chicks in the universe. But look, what I'm saying is that they generate this false faux controversy in order to generate clickbaits. Star Wars is racist. No, it's not. The racists hate Star Wars. They think Star Wars is generating anti-white sentiment. Nobody thinks that. They made it up. It's fake. You know, there was a story that somebody killed themselves with a Star Wars trailer because it was racist. It was fake.
What?
People fall for this crap. You know, they fall for this crap. And I'm just going to call it South by Southwest because I can't say the acronym. But the fact is, they say, oh, death threats. The progenitors of Gamergate are complete charlatans, fake frauds, who say, oh, we get death threats on Twitter because they hate women. No, you threaten to kill them too. And all the coverage of Gamergate, all these innocent people that say they're being bullied online, they're just as bad. No one talks about it. They threaten the threateners. They call them little dicked boys. They make fun of them too. But that doesn't get coverage because it's all fake. There's an agenda going on here. And the agenda is, look how bad the racism and sexism in the game industry. Death threats? They're trying to compare video gamers to ISIS? Really? Shame on you people. Shame. Because it generates traffic.
The world loves a controversy, and there's few things and there's few things like really it's the internet. So when
Yes.
you say death threat on the internet, that is the highest form of internet bullying, and it is, and if you don't let it get to you, it's not even that bad.
Yeah,
So-
it has no intrinsic value because it doesn't really mean. In fact, it's not a good day if I don't get a death threat. You know, remember what Oscar Wilde said, one of the famous poets, who was himself bullied and had his entire career derailed because of controversy. Look it up if anybody doesn't know Oscar Wilde. He said the only worse thing than people saying bad things about you is people saying nothing at all.
Yeah.
You know, the fact is that the internet opens itself. What did people think? That if we allow everybody to think everybody's going to all agree with you? See, that's the thing about people. No one is going to agree with you all the time. And when you have 7 billion people are not going to agree with you. This is the result of participation trophy environments. This is the result of people who have never had to face controversy. You go into the real world out of your little innocuous little bubble, like John Travolta's Bubble Boy, and people come out and they say, wow, how come not every single person loves me? How come not every single person thinks I can walk on water and I'm fantastic and I fart lavender? Because you're not, because you're a human being with flaws like everybody else. And once in a while you're going to say something that makes people upset. But here's the thing, that's good, because that makes you a better person. And Twitter, do you know how many times that I've offended people on Twitter and I didn't mean to? I question things. No, seriously. I just want to make a statement here. I have nothing but love for the LGBTQA community. I love lesbians and gays and transsexuals. I have friends who are lesbian, gay, and transsexual. I have friends who used to be not transsexual who are transsexual. I have nothing but love for people and their choices they make. But that doesn't mean I can't question certain things. And being able to question bad policy doesn't make me a bigot. I've gone to battle with other video game journalists who have called me bigots, who called me a homophobe, because I would question things. For example, at this year's E3, there was a panel that people of LGBTQ and color, aka black, were allowed to come in and get headshots for their professional resumes. And I asked one of my friends who was organizing it. She's a journalist, a video game journalist I've known for years. And I said to her, well, what about straight people? Like, oh, they don't need help. And then I got a barrage on Twitter, people calling me a homophobe. And you know what? They muted me. That's the thing. That's how it works on Facebook and Twitter. Oh, this person said something that perturbed me. Mute, block. I don't have to hear that. So congratulations. You lock yourself in an echo chamber of intellectual apathy. The next thing you know, you're a butthole because you don't understand how the world works, and you're going to face people. And it's terrible.
I think South Park just had an episode about this.
Thank God for South Park.
About safe zones or safe space.
Yes, the PC police.
Right.
And you know what? Thank God for South Park. They're the only ones who do anything about this. There's this new rise of, look, when George Carlin died, it was done. George Carlin was the only one that fought against this idiocy, and he died. And so this whole new thing where black comedians, where gay comedians, where white comedians, where things, they had to be what they are. They had to be only that and only this, because if you did anything else, the PC police would come in and smack you. And there's been a rise lately of comedians like Jerry Seinfeld, and Seth Meyers, and a few others that have come in to sort of step up and say, stop the nonsense. Chris Rock is doing it too, by the way. And they're trying to tell people to grow up, that you're going to hear things you don't like. In fact, one of my intellectual heroes, Richard Dawkins, recently got himself, you guessed it, on Twitter into a flame war because he told these babies to grow up. He said, take your thumb out of your mouth. It's free speech. But they can't deal with it. So they threaten. And by the way, almost 100% of the time, the people making these death threats, or should I say manufacturing these death threats, are the very people who claim they're afraid of the death threats because they don't exist. Nobody has ever been killed. Nobody has ever been attacked. Nobody has ever been legitimately bothered by these death threats because they don't exist. The reason that South by Southwest is doing this is because it makes them look like they're progressive. It makes them look like they're doing something. In reality, they're a bunch of scared crybabies who don't have the courage to do something. If they really did get death threats and they really wanted to make a statement, they'd have the damn panel. And they bring in police, but they don't want to because it's a losing argument. So that's what I'm saying. So if you ever see these death threats, have some courage. Have some courage. Please. What are we, the Cowardly Lions? I'm sorry. This is something that means a lot to me. And the reason being is because there are good people being lambasted and called names and called racist and called homophobe and called bigots and called all this crap. And it's not enough that they get called this, Craig. Is that these morons online, the real bullies, they go into their personal lives and they try to get them fired from their job and they try to keep them from having employment because they don't comport to this stupid lifestyle that these morons can't even follow themselves. This show, I want to give Computer America credit. Computer America is allowing me to talk about this in a way that would not be possible on a lot of these mediums. They would label me bigots, shut me up, shut it up. I don't think I'm saying anything offensive.
No.
What I'm saying is that as a journalist and as a human being, I enjoy hearing points of view that I don't agree with because it makes me better. I'm not so intellectually stifled that if I hear something that I don't agree with, I want to shut it up. Oh, turn that off. I can't possibly deal with it. I got a backbone, and I encourage everyone to grow one too. Being a vertebrae is cool, people. It is fun. It allows you to stand up, not only to stand up off the ground, but stand up for values and to stand up for yourself and to realize life isn't perfect. You're not perfect. You're okay. We're okay. Deal with it.
There you go. All right.
And done.
Well vented. Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Coffee.
We've got a lot more topics to talk about. We have only about 8 minutes left. Why don't we talk a little bit about something that's evidently technically launching today, which is Apple TV. Did that launch? Did it finally come out?
Well, I know my email box blew up with Apple TV game codes, so I think so.
Okay.
I got codes for everything, so it should be fun.
So basically, the Apple TV is out there. This is the new one that we saw on the on their when they debuted.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think for the 4 people out there listening that are interested in it, no, I'm just kidding. No, Ben, I think we've talked about the Apple TV, haven't we, in private?
No, I don't think we have. About
you were at the midnight launch because you couldn't wait to have an Apple TV. Is that it?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay, I'm sorry. That must have been another fanatic. No, Apple TV comes out, and Apple has called this the future of television. Of course they do, right? It's a streaming box. It's a super version of the Apple TV they had before, and the Apple TV before has been among, if not the most popular streaming boxes next to Roku, and despite what Amazon would tell you, the Amazon Fire TV, they're all the same. They're all hockey pucks, and they all plug into your TV, and they all allow you to download apps and channels. Nothing new. Game consoles do this, and they do it very well. The difference is this thing's they used to be $100. In fact, I think the first Apple TV used to be $300 when it was a bigger hockey puck. But Apple decided that was stupid, and they reduced it to $99. And the hardware, Craig, has been out since 2012. It's ancient in the time of this. This new Apple TV is not that. This new Apple TV is, for all intents and purposes, a computer. And it's such a customized computer using Apple. I think it's the A8 chip. It's got, I think, 1 or 2 gigs of RAM. It's got 32 or 64 gigs of memory, which is outrageous for a streaming box. It's got HDMI. The only thing it doesn't have is 4K output. And that I'm on the fence about because, A, 4K probably will become more adopted. But the simple fact is, and I'm sorry all you tech people, 4K isn't around. Nothing really uses it. And so you have this box that outputs at 1080p. And technology-wise, it's the best streaming box out there just from a tech perspective. And it's got a new controller that has a glass touchscreen surface. It uses Siri built in, well, a version of Siri. I think it's like Siri's ugly sister. She doesn't do quite as much as the main Siri, but she's pretty good. And so basically, what Apple wants to do with this box is to enhance what's been known as the app revolution. So now the old Apple TV had this, the Roku had the Amazon Fire. There's no shortage of failed Android boxes that do this. And there's a few weird Android devices like the NVIDIA Shield, which I know my editor Corey just loves, which does 4K, by the way, who do what the Apple TV does, may actually do it a little bit better. But it's not about doing things better or worse. It's about ecosystem. And the main advantage to the new Apple TV is that it's completely plugged into Apple's ecosystem, which is the best ecosystem on the planet. So it's a version of iOS called tvOS. And Apple put out the bat signal a couple weeks ago for all developers to come and upgrade their iOS apps to be Apple TV apps. So a minute ago I said I had a bunch of emails with codes in them. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, when you're in journalism and editorial stuff, you get codes from publishers. Say, please play my game. They beg you to do it. And so I've been in contact with a bunch of in fact, like Harmonix, for example, I've been in touch with them, and we've been talking back and forth about their launch title, which is called Beat Sports, which is essentially a Wii Sports clone made by the creator of Rock Band and Guitar Hero. They are doing the marquee title. It's out today. There's an Evel Knievel app. There's Skylanders, Superchargers. There's Disney Infinity. There's a new Rayman game that just came out. There's tons of stuff. And I keep talking about games. The movies are there. Netflix is the only thing that's not there is Amazon Prime. And we could talk about that if you want to, but that's really political. But all the stuff is there. And apparently Siri works pretty well. You could say, show me movies with John Travolta, and it'll show you movies. And it's got features like, oh, my stupid best friend was talking while I was trying to listen. So you ask Siri, what did he just say? It'll rewind it 15 seconds and do that. I sound like a commercial, but I'm anxiously awaiting to get mine next week, and I know we're going to be reviewing it and having a lot of content on it. So but we're going to be doing that from a game perspective. The first reviews have been moderately well, some overwhelmingly positive, but it sounds like Apple didn't bake it correctly, that there's some flaws in there that probably shouldn't have been. But generally speaking, because it's a computer, it can be updated. And Ben, do you remember the original Xbox that came out in 2006, 2005, Xbox 360?
Yeah.
Had a terrible operating system. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember Xbox 360 now? It's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful machine. Like, in fact, if you had an Xbox 360 in 2005, you wouldn't recognize the one in 2012 or 2015. But generally speaking, I think Apple's in it for the long haul. And as I've told to our fellow editor Josh and Corey and Grayson, this is a new platform, and I'm fully convinced that Apple is not going to let it fail, simply because in the past 15 years, Apple has never released a failed product. And the iOS store is the biggest, most robust, most well-supported, most trafficked, most successful app store on the planet. Sorry, Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And so if they can leverage this gigantic iOS platform onto the television and compete, not with the Xbox One, that's not going to happen. It's not powerful enough. And with the PlayStation 4, I think the only company that should be worried is Nintendo. And in fact, I want to bring that up. One quick thing. I don't know if you saw this, but Nintendo finally announced their first mobile game for iOS. And I think Android, but I don't think that matters. It's called Miitomo, which is basically they're bringing their Miis to iOS.
Yes, I saw that.
Yes, I do not think that this is some sort of concession or concession that Nintendo's out of the market. Far from it. The 3DS makes a lot of money. In fact, the Wii U makes money. No, I think Nintendo is going to modify the way that they do things with their next console. I fully expect the new Nintendo console to be a hybrid of a home and mobile. I fully expect it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's...
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Hey, listen, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to just pause for a few moments, and then we'll be back. Nathan Evans is with us, managing editor of Popzara. We're talking about the Apple TV right now. We've got lots more coming up. You listen to the Computer America Show. We're going to be back just in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And Ben and I continue on with managing editor of Popzara, Nathan Evans, and we're right now talking about Apple TV. It launches technically today, I guess, and it is out, and I guess there's nothing technical about it. It is. It's out.
$149, by the way.
$149. So it's up from $99, but they said it was going to be $149.
$149 to start. It also goes up to $200 if you want more gigs.
And also, if you want the controller, it comes with the remote, but it also comes with the gaming controller, right?
You have to buy that separate.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. That's additional. How much is the gaming controller?
$50.
Yeah. Here's the thing. That's the thing I'm really disappointed with Apple. I wish they would have made a bundle with the controller. The controller that we're looking at is made by a company called SteelSeries, and if you're out there, SteelSeries, you said you'd send one, so I'm waiting. No, but they've done Apple has a codec of their own, proprietary, called MiFi, which they launched in 2013. It's not Bluetooth. It's different. I have a MiFi controller. I have something that was sent to me called the Moga. And what these controllers do is they basically interface with the iOS product, the compatible iOS, the same way an Xbox One or a PS4 controller would interface with their systems, right? And it works relatively well. And since there's a lot of controllers out there, if you have a MiFi controller, it should play just fine with the Apple TV. And if you look up the Moga, it's a moderately decent controller. It's not the best by any stretch. The Nimbus, which is by SteelSeries, is supposed to be pretty good. I know Herman played with one at E3. So, but if you have a MiFi controller, now here's one caveat for developers is that to get your game or to get your app on the Apple TV, it needs to have controller support. So what does that mean? It means you're not going to be playing Street Fighter with that touchscreen controller, but if Capcom decides to bring a complex button ready game like Street Fighter to the Apple TV, you'll have options to play it with a real controller. And frankly, I think that's terribly exciting. But when you add the cost of the controller in with the base model, that's over $200. That's almost as much as a PlayStation. And so, I mean, I'm not going to rush out and say that this considerably less powered Apple TV is going to compete with them, especially with that controller price. What I'm expecting is that you're going to see a lot of less games that are controller specific and more iOS style games that require just simple touch controls on the base controller. Which is,
Right.
I guess that's good because it's not competing. But there are games that are very good and very complex, like Galaxy on Fire, and I know there's probably going to, I imagine Rockstar is going to port all the Grand Theft Autos, except for 4 and 5 are on iOS. Those would be perfect for Apple TV. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Rayman, I forget the name of the new one. There's 3 of them. It's an endless runner. It's a free game, so if you have iOS, play it. The series has been a fantastic series of endless runners. All you do is press a button to jump. That's it. You just press one button, and it works. So we'll see what happens. And I know Corey is looking forward to playing Crossy Road with his girlfriend. So we shall see.
Now I'm looking at that Apple controller one more time here, and it's got the A, B, X, Y buttons.
Mhm.
It's got the menu button. What are those four little looks like lights? Little red.
Those would be different, like select, start, that kind of thing. Just different menu options.
Yeah, it depends on it's game specific. But isn't it exciting though? Because what this really means is that Apple's in the game industry, and I've sort of evangelized this for a long time, is that the game industry is fluid. If you're an old fart like me, then you grew up with Atari, and then if you remember Atari, Coleco, Coleco, Intellivision, Odyssey, all these old things, they crashed the game industry. They cratered it back in the 80s. I remember this. But who rose out of the ashes? It was slightly Atari tried. Then Nintendo comes in from Japan. Nintendo comes to Atari and says, "Hey, would you like to publish our Famicom in America?" And Atari says, "No, nobody wants games anymore." So Nintendo's like, "Oh, well, okay, we'll do it ourselves." So they rebranded the Famicom as the Nintendo Entertainment System, and they changed the world. They changed the world. The entire world pivoted when Nintendo got into the game industry. I mean, seriously, it changed everything, not just gaming. And then, of course, Sega decided to get in, and Namco decided to get in, and then it was Nintendo and Sega, then it was Nintendo and Sony, then it was Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, which it still is, and now, thanks to mobile, it's now Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, Google, Apple. And out of the Google, Apple, I think Apple's clearly the front runner, but now Apple's encroaching on the other buys. There's not room for everybody. And so what's going to happen, I don't know. But isn't it exciting that you have a company that has such a respect for intellectual property and the guts to do it? And I've always said the biggest innovation that Apple's ever given this entire industry has been the App Store. In fact, I think it's the biggest innovation that any company's ever given, because it's allowed everybody with a computer, with an Apple computer anyway, to develop games and apps and sell them to people like a giant flea market. That's never happened before. Even Windows couldn't get it right. So here we go. And I think everybody's copied that model. Google has Google Play, Valve has the Steam store. Everybody's got their own app store, but Apple's bigger than them all. I'm sorry, Steam, but Apple's bigger than you. And now that they're leveraging those mobile apps on the TV, we'll see. Like you said at the beginning, Ben, who watches TV anymore? Yeah. And the question is, millions of people watch TV, but what are they watching? They're not watching cable. They're watching internet stuff.
Right.
And this is the merging of that. So we'll see. Apple's not doing anything here that another company hasn't done. Amazon beat them by months. Roku's kind of done it. Again, Nvidia's kind of done it. But leverage, boys, leverage. And I think Apple has that slight leverage benefit. So we'll see what happens.
Right. Okay. All right. So moving on here. Again, now, I know we're going to be talking a little bit about Google, and Google may merge Chrome OS. But one of the things that I found surprising is that they came out with another Chromecast.
Mm-hmm.
They came out with this Chromecast. Now,
Chromecast too, because the Chromecast 1 was doing perfectly fine, but 2 was like, yeah, why not? Let's just upgrade it.
It's been 2 years. Yeah, it's forever in tech world.
Well, what did they have? What improvements did they have, if any?
It's faster. That's pretty much it. Herman's going to be reviewing one here shortly, and apparently it's just faster. So. But the old one the technology was like a Casio watch. It wasn't that great.
Mhm.
And so, but it worked. It basically functioned. It was basically a chip that enabled what's called Google Cast,
Yeah.
which had, but the technology was Google Cast, and that technology has been embedded in certain systems now, which is what I've always wanted. The idea is that you don't need a device, that it's sort of baked in, and therefore, and again, this is pretty good on Google's part. They put the onus on companies to bake in Google Cast software. Chrome has it baked in, of course, but Ben, have you ever used Chromecast, Ben?
No, Craig has though.
I use it.
Okay.
I have it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty good. In fact, one of our mutual friends, Nelson, when I first talked to him, Nelson Hoods, he was trying to buy this $200 Sling thing. I said, screw that, get a Chromecast. Chromecast is $35 and allows you it does the exact same thing he wants on any computer. And what I like about it is that it's console agnostic, and I got to give Google credit. There's tons of iOS apps, tons of Android apps that that have the casting software. Netflix,
Mhm.
I think Spotify just got it. And what they do is the software beams itself to your Chromecast, and the Chromecast just catches it. And the cool thing about it is that, again, you're not really installing anything on your Chromecast. It's just a receiver. The bad thing, of course, the bad part, the part that really kind of nudges me away from it, even though I have one, is that it requires another device. And so if I can't just sit down and be lazy with a bowl of popcorn, I need to have my iPod with me, because my iPod becomes my controller, and I have to look at it just to do anything. And the performance is sluggish, and sometimes it crashes. And what we really see is what's called the thin client model versus the agnostic model. The thin client, of course, would be like an Apple TV. It would be like a Roku box, where you're actually looking at hardware that does all the hard work, and the controller just controls the hardware. And then you're looking at platform agnostic, like Chromecast, where your device does all the hard work and it just catches it.
Mm-hmm.
A good example of this merging would be the Wii U, of course, because the Wii U does both. It does it both really well, but the net benefit, of course, is that it's very expensive. But when you look at a Chromecast, which only costs $35, $35. Think about this for a second. When you're in college back in the day, the college would have to install this $2,000 projector, this big screen, just to beam your computer to beam the computer to the screen. A Chromecast can do it for $35. It's pretty cheap. The only problem, though, guys, is that it requires a router. And the original Apple TV had this problem too. The original Apple TV could beam the Mac, could beam your Mac, could beam your iPod, your iOS device to your TV. So it's nothing new. The problem is that your router was the throttle gate. So if your router wasn't good enough, you'd experience a lot of lag. And the Chromecast doesn't have that problem, but it still requires a router to route your stuff. I think a new Chromecast would benefit from having Wi-Fi Direct. But the Chromecast 2 doesn't do that. It's just a more powerful Chromecast. And for all intents and purposes, if you were happy with the first one, I'm not sure if you even bother about upgrading to the second. But if you haven't bought one and you still want one, I think, of course, it would behoove you to buy the second. I don't know yet. The review isn't done yet, so I can't say. But it looks cool. It looks like a ball.
Yeah.
So looks like a ball.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and of course Google may merge Chrome OS and by next year. Anything into that?
This
Surprised-
is yeah.
Really
Ben, you wanna
surprised that they haven't thought about doing that before, because the Chrome OS, a little variant of the Android OS, and it worked beautifully with their little netbooks and stuff like that, with their Chromebooks. But I mean, I can't see any downside of bringing all of Android, to bear.
This is interesting. This is one of those things that you love about Google, and this is one of those things you just want to tear your hair out. Because it's one of those things that, like we talked about with Twitter a minute ago, that somebody at Google doesn't get it. There's just two people talking. Like, one person is saying, I wish I knew the answer, and the other person has the answer, and they're not talking. The whole point of Google Chrome, there's 2 points of Google Chrome OS. One, the idea was to bring a moderately powered, cloud-powered computing experience to low-powered hardware. Again, we talked about thin client. The idea is that the Chrome OS was so footprint light, unlike a 30 gigabit Windows, that it could do basic tasks, and the tasks themselves would be delegated to computers. For example, you don't need a big machine to run Photoshop. Our servers will do it. And we've seen a lot of this off-site rendering technology in things like OnLive, PlayStation Now, YouTube, and all this stuff. You don't need a really powerful machine to watch a YouTube video and to play a game on these streaming services. The problem is like most things that Google promised, they way overpromised it, and they didn't see the fact that you kind of need good hardware, and they completely went back on that promise. They even introduced a $1,000 Chromebook called the Pixel Q.
Yes.
You do not need a $1,000 Chromebook. You don't need it because it doesn't do anything that the $200 one does. It's not like a PC, and part of that is because it's become a client software. Chrome OS performs better on better hardware, but marginally so. And at the end of the day, it still can't do anything that a cheap Chromebook. You could buy a $100 Chromebook. They do sell them. I think 125 by I forget the name of the brand. We've reviewed one before, but you could buy a Chromebook for less than $150, and it will do everything you want. It'll just do it slow, and the screen sucks. So, but at the end of the day, it's still Chrome. It's still basically a browser on a piece of hardware. And for a lot of people, that's okay because they don't do complex things. My issue is that you needed the internet. And of course, you say to yourself, well, of course, duh, you need the internet to use a browser, but you don't need internet to use Microsoft Word or Photoshop or a lot of stuff on a real computer. So, and the other part of that, guys, is that Microsoft, again, I got to give them credit for this. They saw it like, hell no, we're not going to let these little Chromebooks take our thunder. So they developed Windows 10 with 2 base models. They developed it to run on cheap hardware, and they basically gave it away for free for certain people. And this is important. One of the reasons that Android has been so successful on crappy hardware is that Google doesn't charge anything for the licensing. You can if you want to make a crappy cell phone and put Android on it, go ahead, it's yours, like Linux. But Microsoft charged for Windows 7. They charged for Windows 8 phone. They're not charging for Windows 10 phone for small devices. And that's why, and I don't know why that hasn't proliferated more, but it has on the laptops. You can go to Walmart right now and buy a fully Windows 10 laptop for less than $200. And that Windows 10 laptop will do everything and much, much more than any Chromebook can do. A $200 Windows laptop is better than any Chromebook because it can do more. Anything. It can do anything. It can do Chrome. So it'll do Photoshop. It'll even do some games. But going back to Ben's question, why haven't they merged? Android's a good operating system. It's a very good operating system, and it's very powerful. It's very powerful. And it's a lot more powerful than iOS in that it's more flexible. The question is, why haven't they just merged them together? And because Google's not thinking about it. And there have been cases where they have enabled Android apps on Chrome OS. On certain boxes, you could play some Android apps. Again, the idea that Google had that you could run Chrome OS on a wafer stick piece of silicon, it hasn't come to fruition. And what Google's found is that people do want to do stuff. Now, to be fair, the headlines all say that Chromebooks sell really well, and they do. But you have to take that into context, is that laptops themselves are not selling very well. The only company that's been selling more year over year has been Apple with the MacBooks. Lenovo's had some jump, but Windows 10 was supposed to jumpstart the industry. By every metric that I have read, and I have read them all, Windows laptops are not selling very well. Chrome laptops are not selling very well. Chrome laptops might be selling a little better than they were, but that's like saying, the fattest man at the least fat man at fat camp. They're just not selling very well, and the industry is circling the toilet. Now, to be fair, again, stuff like tablets aren't selling very well either because we've reached critical mass. When you sell a really, really great iPad that has a really great screen, really powerful, people don't update it every year. People aren't updating their tablets every year. They're not updating their laptops every year. That's not a cell phone, people, so don't expect them to sell as much. They've reached critical mass. So people have a really good smartphone in their pocket that can do everything. You think somebody who's used to checking Facebook and Twitter on the bus wants to pull out a laptop and check Facebook and Twitter? You're kidding yourself. Their cell phone is just fine. They don't have to go to a laptop. They don't even like a laptop. They're perfectly fine on their phone. So of course sales have gone down. And I think the reason, and one last thing, I think the reason Apple sales have gone up because they haven't changed anything. Apple market is different than Windows market for the most part. So it's not a one-to-one. It's literally apples to oranges.
One thing that I will say though is that this whole merger of Android and Chrome OS, it might happen down the road eventually because I did hear, I really am drawing a blank about where I read this, but it was the tech predictions for 2016.
Oh goodness.
And a lot of them I kind of threw out the window because either you see them coming a mile away or no
We
possible way.
we can make up things too, Ben. So
But yeah, we totally could. But there was one that started to make me think, and this could be, kind of the beginning of it, where somewhere in 2016, the Google Play Store and the Android App Store are going to merge together, and really, it's Android's going to start, or Google is going to start bringing Android closer and closer to all of Google products, be it their browser, be it all their devices, all their hardware. Android is going to start playing a bigger role rather than all of this Chrome OS, Chrome.
yeah, they should. They absolutely should, and the reason they haven't is just, I think it's company malpractice. And Google is a company that has no problem about killing products. Like there's something else on that list that we're going to talk about podcasts here in a minute. But going back to this for a second, Google is famous. They are famous for touting that their products are going to change the world and then pulling the plug. Google Plus has been a disaster for them. There's been lots of things that Google does that just people don't understand have been failures. Google TV was a gigantic failure. It almost killed Logitech. Google this, Google that, Google. At the end of the day, it's all about marketing, advertising. Android is a good product. It's a well-maintained product because Google basically offshored development of its proliferation to the carriers. But again, it's still not where it needs to be. A free operating system on a platform agnostic phone should be dominant in every metric. It's not, and that's the problem. If you read the com scores in the user base and the what do you call it, the attachment rate, Google Android phone is on 80% of all smartphones. Yet Apple takes 80% of all online sales when it comes to purchases on smartphones. They take 80% of all app development. They take 80% of everything. So why does an operating system on less than 20% of the world's market monopolize 80% of all the commerce, specifically on an Android operating system that's designed to be commerce? It's because of Google, because they haven't figured it out. And you can't just copy someone and be successful. Look at Amazon. Amazon has forked all their development to Apple. They wait till Apple does something and then they do it too. They do. That's it. If Apple has it, we want it. If Google has it, we want it. That's all Amazon does. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Their Fire phone was a disaster for the company. They've killed it. Oh, Apple has a hockey puck media player? We want a hockey puck media player. Google has advertising? We want advertising. And Netflix has a store? We want a store. Whatever they have, we have. Now they're trying to do Uber. So
Right.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. They're big enough to copy and fail. But that's not where innovation is going to come from. Innovation is not going to come from anybody but innovators. It doesn't matter where you work. What matters is that the people at your company are prescient enough and patient enough and not stupid enough to see you. Very famously, one more story about Apple is that Johnny Ives worked at Apple. He toiled away as a developer, and the morons at Apple didn't appreciate him. He tried to show them designs, they wouldn't listen. When Steve Jobs came back to the company, he listened. Look what happened. You have to take the talent you have, you have to use it. Google is sitting on a gold mine. They have called Android the new Windows for years. It hasn't happened yet. And it won't happen until they get off their lazy collective butts and merge it, get rid of Chrome OS, merge a thin client software like Android, consolidate the company, and make one thing moving forward. Because right now it's just market confusion. It's market confusion. It doesn't need to be. Android on laptops would be great. It would be great. It would be amazing. It would be a nice, cheap laptop that does everything. Imagine that. They're already working on Photoshop for the cloud. That would be great. But at the end of the day, again, cars and trucks theory here, people, is that not everybody wants it. Some people are going to want Apple because they're Apple fanboys. Some people are going to want Microsoft because they're Microsoft fanboys. And I can't find a single human being on this planet that likes Google's customer service because they don't have to have it, because they don't charge you anything for Android. So if Google screws up, you have to use their online database. Good luck with that. But if Microsoft screws up or Apple screws up, you have someone to call. So moving forward, if they're going to merge the two, I wouldn't even mind being charged a little bit as long as I had the reassurance that my data and my computer is protected. It's protected by a company that actually cares about protecting my data. My experience with Google customer service has been the worst customer service experience I've ever imaginable. And you know why? Because they don't have any. I'd rather deal with the numbnuts over at Best Buy or McDonald's, Google again. But if you know what I mean. But that's a personal anecdote. Other people have had less problems. But to close this rant out, Ben, the same way I felt about the microtransactions on Xbox, just because some other fool doesn't care doesn't mean I shouldn't care. And I'm gonna squawk loudly, and I have a little platform that I can talk from, and I'm going to use that platform. But the platform isn't going to be about what I want. It's going to be what I think is best. And I think if Google does consolidate, merge Chrome OS and Android, they better do it right. Otherwise, people will dump them. It'll be a disaster. And again, Microsoft has risen from the dead, in my opinion. They have done a great job with Windows 10. I can't wait to see how they don't screw it up, because they might. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. What else we're going to be talking about here now? One of the things here that we have here is Titanfall is going mobile.
Oh goodness, Ben, you're a Titanfall fan, right?
I have never played Titanfall. I'll be honest. I have not.
You have an Xbox One.
I know, but I didn't get it until like literally 3 months ago, so I missed the entire Titanfall hype.
Don't worry, nobody played Titanfall. That was the problem. Little history: Titanfall was supposed to be the new marquee Xbox game. It was Microsoft partnering with EA, partnering with a company called Respawn. And you know a little about? I know you know about Respawn, right?
Right.
You want to tell us?
Not at all.
Ah, my voice. Sorry. I feel like this is the Nathan show sometimes. This is that would be terrible. I get real death. I'd go outside and get shot. No, Titanfall. Respawn was a company that was forged from the ashes of a company called Infinity Ward, which of course was the was the company behind the original Call of Duty franchise, the revamped Call of Duty. They worked for carrier Activision, of course, to make Call of Duty for Activision. And then sometime around 2008, the sneaky people at EA decided, hey, come on back to EA, because the developers at Infinity Ward, Craig, used to work for EA. They created a series called they revamped a series called Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. So Activision stole them away, created Infinity Ward, and then they created Call of Duty, which of course, let's be honest, is the biggest franchise in our lifetime. And so EA decided, hey, come on back. And they just waved a $100 bill. Come on back, boys. We know you're loyal. So they did. And Activision sued EA. I believe the lawsuit is either still ongoing or I think it was just concluded. But yeah, there's been some chatter that the Infinity War people intentionally sabotaged the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and to deflect themselves to get out of their contract. They left the contract. EA funded a new studio called Respawn, which of course is tongue-in-cheek as a play on words if you get it. And they created a series called Titanfall, which was the powers that be, including Microsoft. This is business, after all. This is not art, people. This is business. They compiled this team in order to create a new series that was, gasp, a first-person shooter with mechs. And so they created Titanfall. And the game was supposed to launch exclusively on Xbox One. That didn't happen. It launched eventually on the PC and Xbox 360. Our friend and colleague Josh Boykin has a very good analysis about that, about how Microsoft borked the Xbox 360 version by offshooting it and basically not supporting it. But basically, it just didn't happen. Didn't launch. Didn't happen. And it was a sign of things to come, I think, that Microsoft and Xbox One were not the powerhouse that the Xbox 360 was. Because in order to bully yourself, in order to throw your weight around, you need leverage. You need something. The Xbox One didn't sell very well, so basically they were starting from scratch. Microsoft foolishly, they foolishly assumed that their leverage from the Xbox 360 would carry over to the Xbox One. Didn't happen. Again, I want to be clear. The person responsible at the time was Ballmer, who's a buffoonish clown. I'm glad he's with the Clippers. Go away, Ballmer. Go away. You ruined Microsoft. Yeah, they ruined Microsoft. No, it got bad when he joined, and it got better when he left. Let's solve for X. It's just basic math. This is the guy who said the iPhone wasn't going to succeed because Microsoft had more phones. This guy didn't understand anything. Although I will say one thing though, the best thing about Ballmer is that he inspired a very good performance by Joe DiMaggio in the TNT made-for-TV movie Pirates of Silicon Valley. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Joe DiMaggio, of course, ironically, is the voice of Bender in Futurama, and the voice of the main character Phoenix in Gears of War. Mm-hmm. So there you go. And I think he's on Adventure Time. But anyway, Going back to it though, Titanfall was a dud. So they immediately announced, the next one's multi-platform. Which of course everyone thought to mean PS4, which of course it's going to happen, but it's also going to iOS and Android. So we shall see what happens. But curiously, when we say mobile, we don't mean mobile anymore, because if this game's on iOS, you can bet your dollars it's going to be on Apple TV.
Yeah, there's that link.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So who knows? Don't expect the same experience. Don't expect the same game. Probably expect a really drastically reduced version, of course. Maybe even a free-to-play strategy game. We'll see. We'll see. But the fact is that it's going mobile, and so is Nintendo. Again, I want to be clear. This is the change agent that I talked about with the Apple TV, that some company is going to be able to do it right. And they're doing it right now. So we'll see what happens.
I think a company has already taken a huge franchise, ported it to mobile, and, well, not really port, but taken a piece of the franchise and taken it mobile and done it successfully, and that's the Fallout franchise. And their Fallout Vault and that kind of thing, where they had, it was just like a little iOS game that was there to hype up the people. It was free to play. That really did well. And when Fallout 4 came out, I mean, everyone jumped right from the iOS game straight to Fallout 4. But then they kept playing the iOS game.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Fallout 4 is not out yet. So what you're saying is that when Fallout 4 comes out
when
next
it comes
month,
out, people are going to think it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, a couple of years ago, there was just a lot of talk about second screen, right? The Xbox 360 had it where you could use your phone as a second screen because, the Wii U did it, right? But I think what happened is that a lot of companies have sort of settled, like Ben said, settled comfortably into releasing iOS apps that serve as advertisements for the big games. You saw Warner Brothers do that with the Justice League game, and you saw Mortal Kombat X do that with Mortal Kombat. Yeah, they're not the full games, but go download Mortal Kombat X on your iPhone, for free, by the way. It looks really good. It's not the game, but it looks good, and it's free. And then it gets you excited about playing the full one. Why not? It's a commercial. I love it. It's free, but don't charge me for it because then you're stupid.
All right. We're going to change gears slightly, and we're going to move to the television. Ash versus the Evil Dead is coming up on Stars. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and maybe a couple of movies as well. You're listening to the Computer America Show. We've got another News Tips Bulletin review coming up as well, and also our social media winner of the week. Be right back. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Doesn't anybody eat the pumpkin donuts? Oh, hi, Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Bosch GLM50C Laser Measure. There's a lot to love in a compact gizmo that uses a laser to precisely measure distances, uses Bluetooth Smart to feed readings to a handset app, does enough trigonometry on angular geometry to indirectly measure oblique surfaces, measures area or volume, and more. The compact handheld Bosch GLM50C laser measure is also a level and can measure angles against vertical and add or subtract calculated measurements. Bottom line, the Bosch GLM50C laser measure isn't just a persistently precise alternative to a kit of traditional measuring tools. It's also the button-free calculator and pencil-free scratch pad you want to have, and a way to look up the results on your smartphone to save time and worry. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Thank you, Marty Winston, for that News at Bulletin review. Last time you'll be hearing that one and the one before in the previous hour. But, Craig, I believe we have two more lined up for next week.
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
Two brand new ones.
Yep,
So, perfect. But yeah, before we jump back to the topic of conversation we were just having, and going forward onto Ash and the Evil Dead, we have a prize to give away to one of our beautiful people who do beautiful social media following. So
very true.
And
we have this week's social media winner, and that person is William Kwok.
Who?
Kwok. Yeah, William listens to us in Irvine, California, and he wins the Logitech MX Anywhere 2 wireless mouse.
Never heard of him.
Well, he's heard of you. William, congratulations. You're our social media winner of the week. And again,
he's heard of me. I pay him in mice.
And check it out again. Computer. Go to our social media contest page, and where you can enter in every single week. You get entries, multiple entries, into winning something really, really cool from our good friends over at Logitech. Congratulations again, William Kwok in Irvine, California. You are this week's social media winner. So Ben and I we're winding up the show. Got the last half hour or so talking about whatever we're talking about. He's the editor of Popzara, Nathan Evans, and you wanted to comment a little bit. I mean, I've seen all the commercials. I have to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of the character that he plays. I know that he's got a huge following. I've never really been into it. It's been to me a little silly, but Ash versus the Evil Dead. It's a resurrection of the character that he's so famous for.
Yes. And first of all, you're not a fan of Evil Dead, so Ben, I want you to take Craig outside and put him in a bus and let him go to San Francisco. We don't like your kind around here. No, it's the fact is that it's Ash. Mm-hmm. He's back. Mm-hmm. You can't imagine. Like, this is, if you're going to have a bucket list of pop culture of things that people wanted to see before they died, we hit two of them this year: Star Wars Episode 7 and a new Evil Dead. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't imagine, Ben, I don't know if you can. I know you're a little younger than me, but you probably grew up more with this than I did. That there are a few things in modern pop culture history that have been so fervently, nerdily asked for as a new Evil Dead, and it's happening. So right. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. It's like going back and meeting the girl you had a crush on in school, and then finding out she turned into a Jabba the Hutt. It's you don't, because inside our brains is that little piece of nostalgia that we love and we nurture, and it blinds us to the realities of the world. And this happens a lot, especially for children of the 80s like myself, who were the first generation that grew up with licensed marketing on TV. I don't know if you knew that or not. FCC relaxed the rules and allowed cartoons to have toy tie-ins and everything in a way that never happened before. So we had He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Voltron. The list goes on. Gem and the Holograms. I don't want to talk about that because the movie's atrocious. But I want to talk about cool stuff. And there's been a resurrection of all this crap in the last 10 years. Transformers has become probably the biggest movie franchise out there, despite what the critics want. G.I. Joe, all this stuff. And again, Gem and the Holograms, which I don't want to talk about because the movie's crap. So, sorry, I'm bitter. But Ash versus Evil Dead is different. See, this is a 30-year-old franchise that goes back to Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell making a movie on a $10 budget with just a bucket of blood. And for anybody who doesn't know, Evil Dead 2, which is probably the best film in the franchise, is just a remake of the first one. but they wisely saw that this is ridiculous, so we're not going to have it be scary. We're going to have it be atrociously funny. And for fans of the series knows what I'm talking about, it's one of the funniest movies ever made. But you have to be in on the joke. You have to be in on the humor. You know, if you I mean, I can't use some of the language Ash uses on your show, but it's really funny if you like that sort of thing. And then they made the sequel, Army of Darkness, which came out in 1991 and routinely bombed at the box office. It was a disaster at the box office. But like, thanks to DVD and home video, it's become a classic. It's become one of the, I think it has the award for most DVDs ever made. Like, not selling, but made.
Is it like it's up there with the Rocky Horror Picture Show? I mean that.
Oh yes. Oh yes, there's still theaters that play the movies every year.
Yeah.
And they and when I say made, by the way, what I would clarify is that different versions, like Boomstick Edition, this edition, Hail to the King edition. And, you know, in pop culture, especially video game culture would not be anywhere where it is today without those movies, because it's essentially it. The video game industry has essentially become extensions of the Army of Darkness franchise. Every time you hear a hero quote a crazy one-liner like "Hail to the King, baby," Boomstick, it's all from Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell has starred in video games. He's been in about 100 different video games, sometimes as Ash. And unfortunately, every show that the boy's ever been in has been canceled. Every show. And, you know, after Army of Darkness, eventually we got series like Xena. We got, what's the one with Kevin Sorbo? You know, Hercules, Xena, Jack of all trades. You had Briscoe County Jr. And now, then you had Burn Notice recently, which was so popular because of Bruce. It was so popular that they spun him off. Yeah,
I like Burn Notice. I actually watched the entire series. Yeah.
Yeah, Burn Notice. Bruce Campbell was so popular they gave him a spin-off movie, and the show got canceled. So, but finally and then they tried to reboot. This is controversial because the reboot was terrible. The critics all liked it. Oh, it's so great. It goes back to what made Evil Dead great. No, it was a terrible movie because it didn't have Bruce Campbell. Well, it did. See, they had this movie that took out the humor, took out the stuff, took out Bruce Campbell, took out that zaniness, and replaced it with horror and blood. Like, we don't watch Evil Dead because it's bloody. Look, I'm sorry to tell you people, we watch Evil Dead because it has Bruce Campbell in it. Without him, there's no series. And at the very end of that movie, if you could stomach it, if you watch the end of it at the end credits for about 2 seconds, there is a silhouette of Bruce Campbell in a silhouette turning to the screen, and he said, "Groovy." It's like, way to go. Way to go. That 2 seconds is better than the whole movie. And so they decided, and this is really cool. And I don't want to belabor the point, but the cool thing about 2015 is that we live in the rehash world where everything is being rehashed, and some things need to be rehashed. We had a new Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. We have a new Rocky movie with Sylvester Stallone. We have a new.
What did you think of that the new Terminator?
Not a good movie. But I mean, I'll get into this in a second because I have words to say. But not a good movie, but better than Salvation. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was the most entertaining thing in the movie, and that it was a reminder of what personality is and what charisma is. And, you know, the other two actors were as dumb as a loaf of bread. They're just no personality. I'm sorry, Emilia Clarke, you're just not interesting. And the guy who played Kyle Reese was just a potato. But the funny thing, but Arnold is awesome. He's really good, and you just got to get him in the right movie. And the movie made money, of course. It made money, whether there's going to be sequels or not. It wasn't very well directed. It wasn't very well made. It was fun. It had fun moments, and I encourage anybody to watch it. But if you're expecting Terminator 2, don't. That was James Cameron. That happened in 1991. It's not going to happen again. So what you can expect now is just sort of a let's get everyone together and make some money. But at the end of the day, it's charisma. And the same thing can be said about Ash and the Evil Dead, is that the reviews have been ecstatic. I don't know if I believe them. We have a review coming. They sent us a copy. I haven't watched it yet because I want to watch it raw. But the funny thing is, Sam Raimi came back and he directed it. Now that's pretty interesting because a lot of big name directors like Scorsese and Frank Darabont and Spielberg have directed TV pilots in the last couple of years because TV is where it's at. TV is where it's at. If you want to make a really good show and make it popular and get into the pop culture, you make a TV show. Yeah, and that's how. What's that?
Even Spielberg hasn't had the magic touch with the Whispers. He got canceled. What's the other one? Got canceled too with the
Boardwalk Empire.
No, 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 no. The sci-fi.
Oh, who knows? Everything gets canceled. That's because they're TV. You see,
Yeah,
that's the thing.
cancel. Yeah.
TV is not cable. Like going back to what Ben was saying, this is on Stars. Like the Netflix model has really changed things for people. Is that they don't film they don't film the episodes every week anymore like they used to. They used to do this on because the advertiser would come in and say, hey, we got to change this, we got to do this, add this character. Not this model. This is the BBC model. They film the whole damn thing up front. The show's done. It's in the can. You can't change it. And apparently, the reaction before the show was even out was so good for Ash and Evil Dead. They've already greenlit season 2, which is unprecedented for that sort of thing. This is a big risk. You're taking a cult franchise that entirely exists in the vapor of culture. Like none of the movies have made that much money, but they're going to see if that vapor has any gas left it can burn.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing back X-Files. You know?
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
This is Halloween, right? You want to talk about scary stuff? They're bringing back Full House.
Yay!
Fuller House. Yeah, full of something. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, who was asking for that? What's next? Family Matters? Bring back Urkel? But they tried to bring back Coach. That didn't happen, unfortunately. I like Craig T. Nelson. I was kind of excited. For anybody who hasn't watched it, there's a show on Netflix called Frank and Johnny with Lily Tomlin and Hanoi Jane. I forget her name. Jane Fonda. And Craig T. Nelson was great in that. It was a good show, by the way, with Martin Sheen. Yeah. But anyway, and Sam Donaldson, by the way.
Extant was the name of the show.
Extant.
Yeah. Again.
The thing is, I'm kind of like a army sergeant when it comes to TV. I don't bother learning people's names because I'm going to lose them. So unless your show has 2 or 3 seasons, I'm really not interested. The only exemptions I've ever given were The Walking Dead and Sherlock. Those are the only shows I ever watched before they got canceled. And I'm really happy to say that I guess I have good taste because The Walking Dead has become the most popular show on TV. And I don't count Big Bang Theory because I think the show is horrible. But people like it.
Yeah.
People if you like it, I can't help it. Some people like eating bugs. But
Right.
But to each his own. The fact is people are making money, right? But The Walking Dead has become the most trafficked show on television. And I remember I talked about it 5 years ago. I actually wrote something about it when I still wrote, and I said this is going to be a phenomenon like The Sopranos, and it's not the critical show The Sopranos was, but it has something Sopranos never had, an audience. So you could be critically acclaimed, like Breaking Bad was critically acclaimed, but no, it was never more than 7 million people who watched it. But every week, 20 million people watch The Walking Dead every single week. Those are numbers that we haven't seen since Seinfeld. And that's pretty cool. I mean, unless you count The Big Bang Theory, which I don't because the show was awful. But it didn't happen. But going back to Ash vs. Evil Dead, you got Bruce Campbell back in the saddle. He is one of the funniest people that I've ever seen. Even if you don't like Evil Dead, he is a funny guy. If you haven't seen it, I recommend, here's a Halloween movie for everybody. If you haven't seen it, this is Nathan's personal recommendation, Bubba Hotep. If you haven't seen Bubba Hotep, go watch it. If you don't like it, you can death threat me on Twitter. I'd be happy to have it. Bubba Hotep is the most ludicrous film ever made. I don't know. Have you seen it, Ben?
No.
Okay. Netflix, BitTorrent, I don't care. Bubba Hotep. Bruce Campbell plays Elvis Presley. And the story is he plays Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley never died. He just swapped places with an imitator, and the imitator died. So he's in a nursing home. He has incontinence. He's peeing himself. And his roommate is JFK. But JFK is now black in a wheelchair because JFK survived the assassination, and to hide him, they dyed him black and put him in a nursing home in Texas to die. Now you think to yourself, wow, this is hilarious. This is such a crazy idea. It gets better. So while Bruce Campbell is so you have old Elvis and JFK just dying in a nursing home, and what should happen? An Egyptian mummy starts coming to the nursing home and killing people by sucking their souls out of their buttholes. Now you say to yourself, this sounds stupid, right? This sounds stupid. The funny part is, it's a good movie. so now Elvis and JFK have to team up to destroy this ancient Egyptian mummy. And the funny thing is, it's a great film. It's actually good. And for all you film nerds out there, it's from the guy who made Beastmaster. It's a great film. It's incredibly entertaining. And Bruce Campbell as Elvis is one of the best things I've ever seen in a film. And it's just a fun film. It's fantastic. It's really good, and it's a Halloween treat that you can't miss. But
Okay.
So,
I
but
put it on the list. I put it on the list.
yes, but and of course you won't like it if you like The Big Bang Theory. But
I don't like The Big Bang Theory.
oh, thank God, that show was crap. So I would rather watch a movie.
Ouch!
I would rather watch a movie. Well, look, I think The Big Bang Theory is a watered down imitation version of the IT Crowd, but with racial stereotypes. I'm sorry, but can we have an Indian character on TV that doesn't talk like that, please? But I'm sorry. But anyway, Ash vs. Evil Dead. I'm excited. I really am. Lucy Lawless is on the show too. You know,
Yeah.
Xena.
Mhm.
And that'll be fun to see. By the way, they're resurrecting Xena. They're remaking Xena. So if you have an old show, it's probably going to be remade.
Okay, something
Even Full House. God,
something to look forward to.
I guess. But no, Ash vs. Evil Dead. I've heard the reviews are great. We're going to have a review for it probably today or tomorrow.
Right.
I think it comes out tomorrow
Mhm.
on Stars or Sunday.
Stars, yeah.
So look forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll probably be out tomorrow because for Halloween. It'll be out for Halloween.
Yes, Halloween.
All right. So where does that leave us here? We got about 10 minutes left. Why don't you pick one of the topics that you have here? There's like 3 left here that we talked about.
Well, I do want to talk a little bit real quick about Google Podcasts.
Okay.
Now, Ben, I know you were talking before the show about how to stream the show on Stitcher and all this.
Right.
Now there's a million different ways to podcast, but if you have a podcast, then chances are you're hooked into the Apple network. Apple invented podcasts. It's their baby. They proliferated it, but they're not the only ones who do it. But we run a podcast. I know you guys do. In most cases, you have to format everything for Apple because it needs to play with Apple's rules, and you have to have a feed and everything. A couple years ago, what was the name of the company? Do you remember this? The name of the company that Google bought a couple years ago when they were going to try to get into the podcast market?
Yeah, they did that.
What was it? I forget the name of the company, but Google decided, hey, we want podcasts too, right? So we're going to buy this podcast company. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Oh, we don't want podcasts anymore, so they killed it. They just killed it. They killed a perfectly good company. Now they decided, well, podcasts are back. With iOS 8, I think it was, with Apple, they made the podcast app a permanent app. You can't get rid of it.
Mhm.
Which is, I like the podcast app, and I use it all the time, but I don't like the idea that you can't get rid of something. But anyway, so I have the podcast app, and I'm a huge podcast consumer, probably more than anybody you've ever met. I love podcasts. I make podcasts, but the fact is that they're growing, and I think a lot of it has to do with the podcast called Serial. And I want to be clear here: NPR's Serial, or whatever who made it, is not a podcast. It's a radio show that they put on a podcast. It had production values, it had expensive microphones, but I guess it is a podcast in that way. But for those of us with Logitech headsets and laptops with no production values, we kind of get a little upset that a big company would come in and just call itself. But you know what, though? Serial turned a lot of people onto podcasts. A lot of people who didn't even know the technology know it now. So thank you, NPR. Thank you, low-speaking people. So because now people listen to podcasts more. That's cool.
Were you talking about Swell? Is that what it was? No.
I think it was. Who knows? But Google bought this company, right? Google bought the company. Let me see if I can look it up real quick while we're talking. I could probably do it so you don't even know that I'm actually researching it while I'm talking because my brain can do 2 things.
Yeah.
But anyway, now Google is getting back into the business, and they're trying to integrate podcasts into the Play Store. And I think this is great. The problem I have, though, again, is uncertainty. Apple has curated podcasts for several years. They've done a very good job, and Google doesn't have a good history. In fact, Google's history is that you don't trust them with content. They screwed people over last time. So the fact that they're going to try it again makes me cautious. I will say this, though. If you go over to the new podcast, if you just type in Google Podcast Play, for those of you who are podcast creators, you can go ahead and submit your podcast to Google. Google's a big company, so it doesn't hurt. But I wouldn't, at this point, I would say, don't click yes on anything that gives Google proprietary rights over your podcast. Don't click yes on anything that makes Google own your podcast. Be very cautious and diligent when submitting content to Google, because what happened is, I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was last week, Google opened up YouTube Red, which is a $9.99 subscription service.
Right.
That allows you to listen. They forced people into signing into their contract. The people that created it. If you don't sign up for Red, you're getting kicked off. You're going to get kicked off or demuted on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Google has demonstrated they are no good at curating content. They're no good at it. They're like a driver with narcolepsy. You don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Apple has proven they are the best at this. This is not me being an Apple fanboy. If any of you out there do podcasts, you know what I'm talking about. Apple has not screwed with you. They have kept everything steady as a rock. So I would say for now, play by Apple's rules, but cautiously accept Google Play into your life as an auxiliary. I know I have. I have submitted the Popzara podcast for Google, and I'm going to watch it. But Google doesn't own it, and I just want to do a little PSA out there that you should be very cautious about who you give your content to, and you should be very cautious about what you sign. Read everything. Be anal. Hire someone to read it for you, because this is the new age, people. This is, as Imagine Dragon said it right. This is the new age. Welcome to the new age, because you can be a star, you can be a journalist, you can be whatever you want to be, but be very careful about who you give your stuff to, because at the end of the day, it's yours and not theirs.
Yeah. Don't treat it like the shrink wrap software.
Yes, and you don't want to get in bed with bad companies. And look, I'm not saying Google's a bad company. I just recommended joining them, but don't join them in a way that usurps whatever relationship you have with Apple. And I'm not trying to be pro-Apple, but Apple's done it pretty well, and they've treated us very nicely, and they've basically set the standard. They're very good at this. Google has proven they're no good at this. So maybe if they're going to copy Apple and copy Amazon, yeah, then we'll trust you a little more. We'll all's forgiven. Who doesn't like a second chance, right? I mean, maybe Fuller House on Netflix will be as good as Breaking Bad. Wouldn't that be cool? But it's not going to happen. But maybe Google Podcasts will be a good extension, and hell, who doesn't like more traffic?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we're trying to get that on ourselves too. As soon as Craig works a few kinks out, so since you announced that Popzara is going to try to be on there, Computer America is going to try to be on there as well.
You guys have a feed. You guys have a feed, right, for
Yeah.
Stitcher and Apple? Just log in with your Computer America account, submit your feed, and you're done.
Yeah,
After you click a bunch of boxes, of course.
Yeah, but there's a thing with like meta tags and whatnot that aren't really lined up yet.
True. I'll talk to you guys after the show, but there are really good plugins that you can use that generate auto tags and everything. Or at the end of the day, you know what you should do? Just hire someone who's a techie person who understands it and let them do it, because you guys create good content, and I would hate to see you not create good content. And before we head out, I wanna reiterate. I want to thank Computer America for allowing someone like me, who is represented by a cartoon, and leads a website with a green dinosaur with a M. Bison hat, to express themselves in a way that I think is fair. Of course, I'm partial to what I say, and allow me to rant and rave about things that I find injustice on a radio program, because you could turn on talk radio and hear Republicans and conservatives rant. And that, I'm glad they can do it. And you can turn on every single TV station on the planet and hear liberals rant. I don't know if you watched the Republican debate, but it was atrocious. That is what bias happens when it's unchecked. And I am biased. I have biases, of course, like anybody else. But my responsibility as an editor is to respect the listeners and respect the readers to the point where you take into consideration. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me to express that, because nobody else is doing it, and because they're afraid of sponsorships. And
Nathan,
Twitter.
One of the reasons we like you, and I have you on the show. I mean,
I am the voice. No, I mean, I'm wrong all the time, guys. I'm wrong all the time. Everybody is. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to important things like Twitter death threats, and when it comes to fake stories, and when it comes to damaging people's reputations, and when it comes to not giving people the benefit of the doubt, I'm not for that, and I never will be. And you guys, for all, if anybody's listening, if sponsorships are listening to this, please support Computer America, because the more venues you have where people are allowed to express themselves fully, away from the nonsense and away from the social justice nonsense, you will see good things happen. And not everybody who has an opinion is a ranting, raving, racist, misogynistic prick. No, and Computer America allows you to say that, and I'm not getting paid to say this. No, but I'll expect my check after the show. Yeah. But these are good guys, and they do a good job. So thank you.
The real reason we have you on is to ward off the chance of McDonald's sponsoring the show, because that comes up every couple of weeks, and we're like, okay, we need to have Nathan on again. They almost gave us money.
Actually, you know what though? The funny thing is, guys, if you actually research how it goes, McDonald's would actually sponsor you if you had people like saying that. That's the thing, because there's no such thing as bad advertising. There's bad analysis. But I mean, a company that would only pay you if you said good things is not a company worth having. I mean, it just doesn't work like that. That's just not how advertising works. But I will tell you this, though. I mean, if you say McDonald's, like, for example, one last thing, every damn news story on the planet had this fake story about beef causes cancer. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Beef, hot dogs, bull crap, literally bull crap.
Processed meat and processed red meat.
They didn't, and that's the thing, because the people reading the news feeds didn't read the whole story. It didn't say it will cause cancer. It said it might cause cancer.
Yeah.
Water might cause cancer. You know, it's just that, and the study they read is 10 years old.
Yeah, and the numbers they all say that cigarettes cause cancer, while meat causes cancer, and it's like meat has a 20% increase that they saw, and cigarettes have a 2,500% increase.
Yeah,
the numbers didn't line up.
Look, there's a larger agenda going on here, and this is a prime example of why you need analysis. Is that the new thing is that beef causes? I'm not joking about this. Look this up, people. And I'm not a naysayer. I'm not a denier. The world is round, and I believe in evolution. But the fact is, they're trying to say cows cause global warming.
Hey.
And this is it. Poor cows.
Yeah. Nathan, we're pretty much out of time, and I want to thank you.
Boo!
Yeah.
Sorry, Bessie.
Nathan, Popzara. Listen, stay with us to the end, of course. Coming up on Monday, don't forget Sunday, it's daylight saving times, so you change it, you can clock back or ahead, whatever it is, fall back. Yeah, exactly.
Fall back.
Yeah, exactly. And then on Monday, we're going to have
90 seconds.
McCarthy Music is going to be talking about their illuminating piano and app. Kind of interesting. We're going to have the company's founder and CEO, Mike McCarthy, is going to be joining us on in the first. Kevin McCarthy, excuse me. And then in the second hour, we'll have computer and technology news. That's brought to you, of course, by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Boy, November is here.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
60
we got a great lineup. Again, go to computeramerica.com, go to our calendar page. You can see all the people that are coming up. Mike Cermak's going to be with us. Epson's going to be with us next week. It's going to be a real stellar week, and we look forward to having you.
And don't forget, folks, tomorrow, be sure to check out the League of Legends World Finale. Join millions of other people watching that tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Again, thanks to Nathan Evans, and thanks to all of you for being here with us on this Friday. The weekend is upon us. Put on your Halloween costume. Have some fun. And Ben and I will see you here, same time, same place, on Monday. So until Monday afternoon, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you on Monday.
Happy Halloween.
Have a good one, everyone.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, and again, everybody, thanks for watching. Have a happy Halloween, and we'll see you here on Monday.
Cool.
Have a good one.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.